Hey everyone, welcome to part 2 to the making of life insurance. Alex wants to know, can you make a BTS video on finding actors and locations? And to that, I said, sure. So when it comes to finding actors, I live in a pretty small market. But you can actually find a lot of good resources on Facebook, such as the theater communities. So the first thing that I wanted to do in my Facebook post was to include that this was a personal project and get any potential objection for the reason why an actor might not want to do a project right out of the way. If that's due to the amount of days that we needed to film for, or that this was a personal project and that we didn't have a budget. So getting any of those reasons for why an actor might not want to do a project out first helps them filtrate out what kind of gigs that they want to apply to, and helps you get actors who would be more interested in your kind of work. And then at the bottom of my post, I just included some of the past work that I had done. That way people could see that I'm a real person and they can see a little bit more of the style of the kind of things that I make. And then if you do live in a bigger market, Craigslist is also a great place to go. But even if you can't find professional actors, I still don't think that that's a reason that should hold you back. For life insurance, the HR rep was actually the director of photography's older brother. And whatever situation that you are in with finding actors, if you just play the ball to your own court and you embrace the limitations that you do have, that can be a great way of taking a spin on how you choose to look at it. And in my opinion, I think that that is the most important thing in any situation. So aside from one or two projects, this was really the first time that I had directed professional actors. So when it comes to directing actors, the first thing that I think is important is to have one characteristic set aside for each actor that they can play throughout the entire scene. So for instance, in life insurance, Isaac was always curious, Lewis had something to hold back, Danette was the boss who was in charge, and Mark, the cop, was cold and removed. And then when it comes to directing actors, there's two things that I think are important.
Every scene you direct, every scene you act in, it's the same thing. What's that? He said, behavior over time. It's a fraction. So behavior is the most important thing of every piece of material that you read, that you perform in, and you direct.
So to focus first on behavior, the very first thing that I think is important about behavior is the movement of the eyes. As the audience, we're always watching the character's eyes. So what we did with the actors was we asked them to lead with their eyes. So if they were looking at, say, the camera, we would ask them to look first at the point and then move their heads. That way you'd get slower timing, and the audience could also see where their eyes are looking to. And this won't work for every single scene, but sometimes it is a good way to test out having to make someone think about doing something that they aren't used to, which changes the way that someone will act. One piece of directing advice that I got before filming life insurance was that it's helpful to be specific with what you communicate. An actor can't see themselves on the monitor, so it's up to you to communicate to them how intense they are coming across or how quickly or slowly they need to act. So for instance, I tried to stray away from saying, can you do less? Because I kind of find that that's a vague way of communicating what you want, and that can leave a lot of confusion for both people. So instead, at times, what I would try and do is say, right now, your anger is at a 15. If you can bring that down to a 2. And then seeing how that changes what they do is hopefully a more concrete way of describing what you want to get. As a director, you're the one setting the tone of the room, so people feel more comfortable than if you're just the serious person in the back and you're not giving very much communication. If you set the tone of the room to be outgoing and friendly, people are way more okay with being themselves or acting in this dramatic sort of way. And so sometimes this can really help non-actors too to come out of their shell more. And then lastly, what I probably went overkill on this was that I would ask the actors to do the lines about 100 times in the span of a minute, where they would just say the line and then just keep re-saying it in different amounts of intensity and time. So in the span of, say, 1 minute, you might have 30 different takes of a line where they say it with different sort of emotions.
Because it's a win for all three parties. The client has invested resources to ensure a quicker recovery, the state saves taxpayer dollars, and we avoid paying out life insurance to the beneficiary. It's in our agreement that we help our customers no matter their mental state. Because it's a win for all three parties. The client has invested resources to ensure a quicker recovery. The state saves taxpayer dollars, and we avoid paying out life insurance to the beneficiary. It's in our agreement that we help our customers, no matter their mental state.
I really like that. And then when it comes to finding locations, the smart answer is to only use locations that you have immediate access to. And wherever you live, if you just embrace the locations that you do have, if you just make something around that and make it look purposeful. Christopher Nolan's first movie that he shot over the weekends with his friends was famous for having the rooftops in his movies because that was free production value for him for getting awesome looking locations. But then if you're like me and you write a script that's located in an office and you don't have access to an office, what do you do? For life insurance, we had access to a college building that actually used to be an insurance company before it got renovated into a college. And then for the car scene, we just filmed in the middle of the night in my driveway. But when you need to find locations, the very first place that I would go to is the people who you know. Whether that be your friends or your mutual friends, if you're going to someone who you don't know, if they don't know you, they're less likely to trust you. But even at that, if you're approaching strangers over an email, if you're just coming across transparently and kindly, then sometimes you can still find results. And if someone does give you their location, I think it's important to be as professional and courteous and kind as you possibly can be. Afterwards, if you bake cookies or purchase a gift card for the location owner, that's a good way to show your thankfulness. But the one thing that I do know is that whether you ask or not, if you don't ask, the answer will always be no. Or you just have money. If you just have a ton of cash, But then say you don't have a location. What do? Well, you can actually cheat it with cinematography or visual effects. When it comes to cinematography, if you just do close-ups where most of what you see is the face and the background is blurred out and you just shoot dark, that's a great way to imply more than what you have. And then letting the sound design do the rest can fool an audience into thinking that they're actually in a place where they're not. And then finally with visual effects, if you're on a locked off shot on a tripod, one thing that you can do is put an actor behind a green screen, and so long as they aren't moving a ton, if you look at the lighting conditions of the room that you want the actor to be in, and then you can mimic the same lighting conditions with a green screen, you can actually get some great results. For instance, in life insurance, if you look at Lewis, there is some top-down lighting that looks diffused, and then there's some fill on camera left. So in order to get the same results, I put myself behind a green screen and I mimic the exact same lighting conditions, and then put myself in the same location. Next week, in our final episode of The Breakdown, I'm going to be including raw project files and all of the Premiere Pro and After Effects assets for people to download and use completely for free. So if you want to download that and make a better version of the short film, go for it and send it to me. I hope that you've enjoyed this breakdown, and we'll see you next time.